Hi, I've been trying to do a video for a few days now. There's been lots going on, and every time you think, okay, I've got a pretty good picture to sort of convey now, there's more. There's more information, there's more things coming from so many different directions. But that's good. It's the way it should be. Obviously 2020, everything is changing. Even when we have sources that have a good idea of what's to come, that's fluctuating. The choices the collective are making are massive. So it's all fluctuating constantly. But if you are relying on your information all from one source, it's far too open to manipulation, or even just clouded interpretation, because we all see things through our own filters, from our own personal perspectives and how we all see the world. You know, it might be that there's someone that's got a really, really good insight, but they're also a very passionate vegan. And I think there's one person, I can't remember what he's called. A lot of what he says is very, very on point. But he's also got it really in his head that, you know, the coming changes are going to be, you know, veganism for everyone, because that's what's best for us all. And I mean, the Gates Foundation are pushing the veganism. Veganism has been pushed in the mainstream media massively. Anything the mainstream media are pushing, doesn't really usually correlate with you know, our greater good. We're each different. Our bodies need different things, and that's fine on an individual level. But when something starts to get pushed, it's like a global agenda, you want to start asking questions. So we all come from different perspectives. We all have our own interpretation of the information that comes at us. So please always source from different angles, different people, different perspectives. One thing I wanted to touch on is Q. Whenever I talk about how positively I feel about how this is going to play out in the long run, and it's not all, well, it will be positive ultimately, but we've got a way to go. We've got a very bumpy way to go first. But everyone then just says, oh, you must follow Q then. No. I usually say I am aware of Q. It's there. It's, you know, I'll keep tabs on what they're saying. But the information that I have personally about Q is they have been a force for good. They've massively been a force for good. I don't think anyone can deny that they have helped in a very significant level of awakening for the collective. You know, I've got a lot of respect for that. I've got a lot of respect for the amount of people that they've drawn into this sort of awakening and awareness. And that's fantastic. It's you know, amazing for all of us. There's a digital army, they call it, and it is, because we're a digital age. Information it's all digital these days, and the misinformation is digital too. So it's a war that's not happening almost. I mean, it is in terms of, you know, they're not treating people for cancer anymore, and, you know, when people do go in with the fear that they've got something that they didn't when they went in, they'll make sure they do when they come out. And there are a lot of physical agendas going on, but the majority of it is mental. The majority of it's being just played out psychologically through the television, through Facebook, the news outlets and all of that. And it's just digital information. That is the main weapon they're using against us. So, like this video, like so many other people I know are doing the same messages and just communicating online. You can't underestimate the power of the digital fight back too, because this is where it's at. And, you know, this is the way, it's the tools we have to use at the moment. And it's better that way, because there's less deaths involved than being on a battlefield, that's for sure. It's a weird kind of war we're in, but, you know, Q has brought about a significant increase in the pushback of, you know, against the information that's being fed to the public. So I've got a lot of respect for that, but there is an element within Q that is working against it, from what I can gather. So again, take it as just one source, and then you look for the correlation. That's what I do. I look at so many different people, from military to channelers, you know, on-world, off-world, political, ONS stats. You've got to look everywhere, and then you start to piece a picture together from the pieces that correlate between them all. And as you kind of progress with this, and if you're on any kind of spiritual journey, let's say, That might be a bit of a tacky way of putting it, but it's a bit more basic than that. But as you sort of become more aware of your own intuition, then put it that way, you can start to feel what's right and what's not, and what's real and what isn't, and what sits right with you. Just, you read something and you just take a minute and think, if you had to give an immediate yes or no, is that true, is that false? Immediate, just like that. Don't even, just split second, no. No. And I've had that from sources that I've known as best I could to be very trustworthy. But it just starts to feel a bit off. You're like, hang on, no, I don't think so. So you start to look further and you reach out and you find new sources and new information. And sometimes maybe that was they had information you needed at that time, but in the grander scheme of things, you need to look for information elsewhere after that. And you do progress and you move around and the picture gets bigger and bigger, and you just have to start trusting how you feel with the information you're finding. As with Q, sometimes they'll put something out and I'm like, I'm not sure. Or sometimes it'll be people's interpretation. I find that with Q a lot. They'll drop a few hints to this, that, or the other, and then someone's made a video. And they've got this whole grand interpretation and this big elaborate story. And it's like, hang on, about 10% of that was based in drops. The rest is fanciful, but to say the least. But I think, generally, I think they have been a force for good. But take it with a pinch of salt, some of it. Not everything we think is happening, that they're portraying is quite how it's going down. To try and clarify that from my own perspective, from what I have found out, I do wholly believe that Trump is working for everyone's benefit, for our good at the moment. There's a hell of a lot of people working against him. I mean, you've only got to look at the media. If the media are fighting something, you know, that's there's a good chance that there's some good in it somewhere. But again, this has come from so many different sources now, and my own intuition, and my own channeling experience, and other channelers I know, and as well as, like, you know, military. And it's just, again, find the commonality. It's come from so many places now, and it resonates with me personally. I don't think he has any bad intention at all. I think he's fighting a hell of a war. I think Putin also. China's a little bit more iffy, but I think it's quite a bit more iffy. But yeah, I think there are some very big political forces on our side and against us. It's going to need to play out, I think, on the higher level, as above so below, Hermetic principles and so forth. I think it's done. We are going in a direction that can't be changed now. How we get there, that's still a little up in the air. Winter is going to be bumpy. I've said this for a long time. Winter's going to be bumpy. 2021. That's going to be very interesting. Look for, if you think that the global elite working against us is a bit far-fetched, 2021 is going to spin you out. ET disclosure. You can see they're starting to drop hints at it now, a little bit here and there. They know it's coming, and they're trying to sort of prepare people for it. But yeah, that one's coming too. That one's going to be fun. I find this whole thing terribly exciting. Honestly, it's brilliant. I just know that the change that's coming, it needs to come. It needs to happen. Something else I wanted to touch on is digital currencies, a cashless society. As much as I know people want to sort of hang on to cash, and there is very good reason to avoid cashless society in terms of, if they have control of the cash, they have control of everything. I say the cash, the money, the currency, if they have that control and the tie to, let's say, injectables, because you've got to be careful the words you use these days. Maybe I shouldn't have used that letter in the alphabet word either. Am I going to get taken down for that? Probably. But I'm slating it, so you can't cut me some slack. Slating it a little bit anyway. God, censorship. We are not in a free country, are we? digital war, like you've been saying. But yeah, digital currencies, if they get tied to conditions that we have to meet in order to access our funds, then yeah, very, very bad. So who has their hands on the controls, or who controls the system is going to be very, very important going forward. But the system itself of having digital currency, backed with gold at least, I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, we can't be all lobbing gold around with us, just take a chunk of gold here, take a chunk of gold there. It's not really practical. So it needs to have some monetary representation. Our current monetary system, the fiat system, was gold-backed at one point. It's long gone. But something to remember when you're trying to defend the cash, trying to avoid cashless society. I will pay in cash, I will pay in cash. What are those notes? Where are those notes from? Those notes that we feel so almost patriotic and defensive against, and protective rather, towards. What are they? They're IOUs from the Rothschild banking system. So don't get tricked into, they want conflict, don't they? They want one side against the other. The last thing they want us to do is realise there's a side that that is in everyone's benefit, in everyone's best interests. They just want to keep conflict. So if they can, those of us who would side with a good, truthful, gold-backed system, if they can just distract us and keep us over here defending their little IOU notes from their Rothschild banks, we're not going to, it takes us out of the way, doesn't it? We're not playing against them then, really. We're just fighting for one of their versions of finance against another of their versions of finance, and neither are for our benefit. So try not to ramble here, but you get my meaning anyway. There's nothing good or patriotic about those notes. There really isn't. I mean, that banking system was set up to enslave us. If you look at how much debt we've got currently, it's impossible. Nobody could ever pay back that debt. It is just to keep us trapped, keep us just in this little hamster wheel that we can never ever break free of. So whatever efforts we put in, they get like 60% of it. No matter how hard we work, their slice is ridiculous. They tax you when you buy, they tax you when you earn, they tax you when you buy things, they tax you when you die, they tax you when you gift. It's just, you pay for your own house like 3 times. It's ridiculous. The system has to die, and those notes are going to die with it. And that's okay. We've just got to make sure it goes in the right direction. So, yeah, don't defend those, the Queen of England on that little bit of paper, those Rothschild's IOUs. Doesn't resonate with me, put it that way. Going forward, yeah, bumpy. There's a separation coming. Sorry, I'm throwing so much information out now. I'll try and break it down into smaller chunks and address things a little bit more specifically. But I just wanted to get things out there for now, and then I can go into more depth in individual segments later. Going forward, there is a separation. This whole 2020, it's been theme, I would say personally, is awakening, okay, great, but it's more been separation and conflict. The coming together is what will come after. But we all have free will, we all have free choice, and that includes the choice to make bad decisions. That includes the choice to stay enthralled in the 3D mainstream media centric world. They're allowed to do that if they want to. There's no point getting angry at them for it. As much as the ever tolerant liberal left do want the rest of us to die if we don't agree with their thinking, we can't take on that kind of mentality. As much as it feels like us versus the mask wearers, you can't. You've just got to separate from it and just leave them do their thing, respect their choice to live that if they want to. It's terribly fearful. Can you imagine the days they're going through? Disinfecting their post, quarantining their shop. Oh, I can't even. it doesn't affect us if they're doing that. It does when they try and push it on us, okay, and we'll push back. And we'll set a happy example. I think the best thing you can do is show them love and just remind them what freedom looks like. Honestly, it is. But we can't fight the separation. It's going to happen. It's going to continue. All we can do is set an example. Remind people that it doesn't have to be this way. And they can come over at any point. You just keep doing your thing. Just keep setting your example. And what's coming, their plans, second wave, or any curtailments on our liberties and our freedoms, you're going to find it'll affect the people that live in fear more than it'll affect us, massively. We're mostly going to ride this out like we always have. And even if there is any more physical attack in terms of illnesses or, another virus, it's not going to affect those of us that are apart from it. You just have to rise above it. It's an energetic thing. I can go into this in greater detail as well. But just be mindful of how you're resonating. Don't get wrapped up in the hate. Don't get wrapped up in the division. Just do your thing and be happy. That is the most powerful thing you can do, is just be happy and go about your day. Just be a beacon of light and a shining example of what freedom looks like, what fun looks like, what joy. Remember that? We're still doing it. We're still having fun, trust me. And that's the best thing you can do for everyone, and especially for your kids as well. Don't let them be afraid of this. Just encourage them to have fun, to find their friends that they'll have fun with. They're going to make their own, you can call it bubbles if you like, but you know what I mean. We just, our groups, and they'll get bigger and more people are going to come, and they're going to see us and they're like, hang on, are you really not afraid of it? No, we're not. We're really not at all. This is what life used to be like. That's what it's like for us now. And that's the best thing you can do. So, yeah, there's going to be turbulent times, but it doesn't have to affect you. And the separation that's coming, it needs to happen, and it's okay. And it's their right to make that choice, whatever choice they might make. You just have to respect that and keep doing our thing. Don't be afraid. I need to kind of get out of the stockpiling mindset a little bit. I've had that for a bit. Do you know what? I think sometimes when you're afraid of something, it's better to sort of get it off your mind. So if dealing with it gets it off your mind, do that. But I need to stop doing that now. I've got a bloody big box freezer full of frozen food. I don't need it. I really, really don't think we need it at all. But get enough to take it off your mind and then just relax and don't worry about it. And the October, everything's getting declassified. The whole Hillary thing, we know it's coming. We know it's going to happen. Well, most of us do anyway. Just watch it play out. Get popcorn. I should do a popcorn recipe. I can make amazing salted caramel popcorn. It's so good. This is where you should be. Just enjoy it. 2020 rather, is crazy. But just ride it out, because what's coming is so worth it. So yeah, keep going, keep doing your thing. And I'll try and edit some of the rambling out of this video, because there's been a decent amount of rambling. And have a great October. It's gonna be fun. I'm sorry, or when people say relentlessly happy. I am. It's declassified everything. This is going to be great. So yeah, get your popcorn, ride it out, and keep shining bright. Bye.